Hey there, League players, and welcome to the 17th episode of The Recall. I gotta be honest with you, I have not been playing a lot of League of Legends lately. I've been playing World of Warcraft and Hearthstone. I've jumped into the Blizzard camp, and I feel a little guilty.
Publisher.
I did. Well, you know what? Sometimes I play a lot of League, and sometimes I need a break because there isn't an S in Riot Games yet. It's just Riot Game. I only have League of Legends. So until there's more, and I hope the second game will be, at least sometime in the near future. We'll see. I think they're working on something, but who knows? Who knows what the Rito gods are doing?
I've been playing a fair amount for me, which isn't a lot anymore, but I'm trying to get in. There's a rumored Kale rework that is coming down the pike. And I've been trying to get as much Kale in as possible before that rework because she is so much fun.
Rumored Kale rework? How do you know about that?
It's on the Kale Main's Reddit board.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's like, it's not announced, but she's an older champ, and
yeah,
she's one
older.
of the originals, and so they've been thinking about, or they've been, I don't know who found it or where it came from, but it is a rumor. I think she's really fun the way she is as a top lane.
Yeah, she seems mostly I guess balanced isn't the right word. She seems like she has a good identity. I think
absolutely.
I think maybe her heal could be changed to something cuz it doesn't really heal for much, so it doesn't really feel like a good ability. Maybe if they dropped the heal and made more of a speed boost. Maybe.
The problem is if you take it away, the heal part, then she becomes less good at support.
Well, who cares? She's already decent mid and pretty good top and a better jungler than she is a support anyway.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be a thing.
Maybe
maybe increase the slow. I'd like to see something new with her E, the damage from her auto attacks, because what I was thinking of the other day, and I had no idea that the Kale rework was coming. This was just popped into my head. But what if they did something on her E, something similar to Tristana's Satchel, where it builds damage every time you hit them?
Oh, that'd be cool. But she already gets that from her auto. Yeah, you'd have to rework her passive if you want to do that.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe not. Maybe I'm stupid.
It's gonna. Given the pace at which these go, it's gonna be probably years before it happens. Yeah. But you never know.
Well, for those that haven't listened to this show yet, or read Zing and I's League of Legends articles on .esports.com TM, my name is Aaron, and my co-host for today's episode. And every episode so far, we're on 17, which is kind of crazy to think about, is Zing. So say hi, Zing.
Hey, I'm Zing. I'm the competitive league guy at DOT. I'm excited that we've got the main event underway. We've seen quite a few upsets already and surprises, and it'll be fun to see how the rest of the tournament shakes out.
And disappointments?
Can you really be disappointed if you didn't expect certain things?
Absolutely, I can. We'll get into that later. We got a good show planned for you guys today, mostly because there's a lot to talk about. First and foremost, I want to chat about the upcoming Clash game mode that was tested on most of the game servers last month, I want to say is when it was. Time kind of flies, but we also want to talk about the new champion, who we know the name for now. It's Pyke. And we also want to talk about healing and shielding, and the changes that are coming to those. And they've largely remained the same since League started. They've been buffed and stuff through items like the Redemption and the Ardent Sensor over the years. But they've been the same. They've had the same core system. And then, we couldn't live with ourselves if we didn't talk about North America at MSI, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about that to my behest. Is that the right usage of that word? Doesn't matter. First up, let's get into Clash. And I don't want to talk about it for too long. I just wanted to mention that it looks like it's coming soon. Finally, we tested it, and when I say we, I mean whoever tested it. It was in the live client for 1 weekend last month, and a lot of people really liked it. The resounding reaction from the players was that it added a lot of identity and purpose to playing League. It felt really fun, even when you were playing with groups of randos and not your friends. So yeah, it looks like it's coming up soon. We didn't really have a timeline on it, but now on the PBE we have a special login screen for it, and I just want to point out that login screens usually hit the PBE right before a feature or a champion or whatever goes live, and it might skip the PBE because it would be, you need a specific amount of players. Like it's a pretty niche thing in general. Like it isn't everyone that plays.
Right.
It's only the people that want to throw a team together for starters.
Mm-hmm.
And the PBE doesn't have that many players to begin with. So there probably wouldn't be much room to actually test it.
Right.
And then secondly, we've already tested it. And players gave a lot of feedback to Riot. So it's very realistic that it's going to be a surprise feature in the next patch, or maybe the patch after. And we're just going to have it. I imagine there will be some sort of announcement because this is really big, and it's unlike Riot to push things without talking a little bit about them first. And since this would, I assume, be the official release, I imagine there'll be some announcement of some kind. It won't be like BMO, where the splash art is shared on Twitter, and then the next day it goes live.
Straight to live, yeah.
So yeah, what do you think about that, Zing? Are you excited?
I am excited. I think Clash is great. This is a part of esports that's been a problem for a long time, right? Like, how do you, like, you have friends that play together, but how do you like organize it a little bit better? Gamers, our parent company actually has a site called TeamFind for one of the other titles, but we don't really have anything like that other than random Reddit boards or Discord servers for League. And I think this is great. I think it is a good thing for both old players that have been around in a while and they're looking for something other than ranked. And it's also good, I think, I'm hopeful that it'll be a good way to introduce new players. Like, you know, if you have a 4-man team and you need a 5th or whatever, and you can get like someone new that's in, and then, you know, they have like an incentive to play a few games in a small amount of time, and you really get to understand how League works. So I'm excited. I think it's a good mixture of hitting all spots.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not so sure on the new player thing, only because to feel involved enough, I think you have to feel a certain level of involvement in League to even find enjoyment with some try-hard tournament mode like this. But it's possible. I agree that there are some scenarios where, like, you might have 4 friends and they need a 5th, and they grab another friend who hasn't played League before just to, like, fill the slot.
Yeah. And I'm less talking about like true noobs, but more of like the guys that have played like a bunch of normals, you know?
Oh, I got
like the guys that play normals or ARAMs or stuff like that like think League is fun, but haven't really had that, you know, incentive to play competitively, play ranked, and because ranked is such a grind. I mean, it takes so many games to level up. So it's like if you have someone like that's kind of been on the outskirts that knows League a little bit, but is looking for that opportunity to dive in, I think this could be a way to get that person in.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good thought. I'm nothing but a fan of this. I think it satisfies my esports itch. I think this is going to be really, really nice for people that enjoy the competition of esports.
Yeah.
Watching LCS every weekend, and who've always like enjoyed that sort of thing. So this is going to be enjoyable to play without like having to sacrifice tons of time to actually like want to join a team someday or anything crazy like that. So it gives you like a similar amount of enjoyment, or not maybe amount, but a similar type of enjoyment, without having to put in all the hours to actually make it happen. So yeah, I'm really excited. And of course it'll require more time than just like solo queue, because where in solo queue you're pretty much practicing while you play. It's very encouraged to practice before these tournaments in the Clash mode. And it sounds like they're only going to happen 1 weekend a month to give you adequate time to prepare and practice, which I think is okay. I think I'd almost like every other week, just a little bit more. But I think every week would definitely be too much. But every other week I think would be a little bit better than once a month. But I like where they're at.
Yeah, I
like once a month decision.
I like once a month because I don't think you want to be oversaturated, right? You want to feel like every tournament means something, and you get meaningful rewards.
That's
so
true.
I feel like having it a little more spread out is actually good for this program. I also am excited to see, or I'm curious to see how high we get in terms of the level of play, and whether this becomes an interesting scouting tool for challenger level.
Oh yeah, good point. Because this would that's actually a super good point, because a lot of the issue with the challenger scene right now and why the challenger scene is difficult to scout in is because a very, very good portion of challenger players are one tricks, and that does not make a good professional player.
Right.
You need to have depth, not just in champions, but in strategies and everything like that. And this would be like a really good, if this does become more common at the very tippy top of the talent ladder. This would be a great. Not only would it be a great tool for finding those players that are actually have the depth to possibly be pro, but it also allows those one tricks to hopefully broaden their horizons a little bit. I'm very interested in that as well. Especially the fact that it's coming so soon after franchising. The league already feels like it has way more depth, but
Yeah.
where I think it struggles is the Academy League and scouting new talent. That would be.
Sure.
I hope that would help.
Sure.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the new champion. I love talking about new champions because, especially when we don't know much about them, because I'm a big theory crafter and I have so many tinfoil hats in my closet that I don't ever close. So Pike, the Blood Harbor Ripper, was revealed this week in a teaser trailer. At the time of recording this episode, we don't know what his abilities are, but he's supposed to be a support, and he looks absolutely terrifying for a support champion. So in the teaser trailer, I encourage you to go watch it, but there is a part where he is pulling a poor guy underwater with like a crap load of fishing hooks. And then he has this like ghastly like ethereal sword. He's very like Davy Jones feeling kind of.
Yeah.
Like he's this old, used to be a pirate, brought back to life. He's like a vengeful specter, ghost of some kind. It sounds like he might have some sort of sea monster tied into his kit, or mind control, which I think would be really unique. I don't know how it would happen, but does sound pretty cool. So, what do you think, Zing? Because this is probably the first truly like this dark of a support since Thresh. Like even Tom Kench, like is like a demon who makes deals with people and ultimately eats them. But even he has like a goofy like feel to him. But
you
this
can't take
feels
that
like,
Waddle seriously.
yeah, like he's goofy. Like even though his theme overall is like dark, it's nowhere near like this cold-blooded murder like Jack the Ripper from the ocean type of feel. So I
think
like
it's
it,
great.
personally.
I think he looks awesome. Yeah. I am a big fan of Venom from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think he looks a lot like Venom, and I think that is awesome. I agree. I think it's the first, long time coming since they've had kind of a darker, even a darker champion, right? We've had the Zoes and the Zayas and the Rakan.
Yeah, the last one was Kane, and
yeah,
he's more edgy than dark, I would think.
Yeah. So I'm in favor. I think the cinematic looks great. I'm excited to see what he looks like on the PBE.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I have a feeling that with the fish hooks and the sword, that he might be an AD support, which would be a first. I don't know exactly how that would work because AD items are way more expensive than pretty much anything else. But at the same time, there are AP supports, and AP items that actually give reasonable damage are pretty expensive as well. Also that and the fact that there isn't an AD starting item that helps you get gold. So that would be weird. But I was just thinking maybe with because he's got like swords and stuff. If he does have swords, and the trailer wasn't just like a big tease that ended up being not true, I would think that he'd have at least a little AD. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll be interested. I would definitely wouldn't want him to be another tank support. That would be super boring.
Oh my god, yeah.
I hate
Or
tanks.
really AP. I think we have too many.
Yeah.
And then or shield. So like the so the only thing left really is AD. But at the same time,
Are you telling me that Yasuo can't be played support?
you know what? He can if you're brave enough. I've also seen support like Jarvan and Lee Sin is a fun one to play support.
Oh, okay. Got the shield.
But they don't have the tools to be a support. Like
Yeah. No,
I think because you can get away with it. The only thing is if it doesn't work fast, you fall off because you can't afford those items.
Yeah. You have to get super.
But the
fed.
same goes for mage supports. Like brand support is obviously way worse if you don't have enough gold to get the good items early. But I think an AD support with the right tools could do it. Like if he has like one utility or enough crowd control, it'd be really cool. And in the latest champion roadmap that Riot published, they did say that they're going to be limiting the number of champion releases they have in order to make each new champion feel very extremely unique and bring something totally new to the game. AD support would be that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
We'll see.
So we'll see. Yeah, exactly.
The last thing I'll say about him is it's been a while since the Bilgewater event, but I've always felt like Bilgewater has been one of the strongest storylines in League. For those that follow the lore, I think the Bilgewater characters are really cool.
The Bilgewater event was so cool.
It was awesome. You have Gangplank.
Barring the
Misfortune.
disabling of Gangplank.
Hey, they had to do it though. Right?
Strictly
I thought it
for
was
pro
cool.
play.
Yeah.
It was weird. But like in normal play, who cares? Like in
Yeah.
solo queue, like play something else.
Yeah.
But in pro play where like it affected the meta and like what what like people knew and stuff, like yeah, that was a little weird. But to be fair, Gangplank wasn't really around in the pro meta.
Right.
Man, the old Gangplank, it's hard to even think back that far.
Yeah, I know,
He
right?
had remove scurvy, he had his Q. What was the other ability? That the barrels were placed. I can't remember it. Oh, it was just that like the boost to attack speed or whatever, right?
I think so.
Or like
I
added
never
damage to
played
his
Gangplank
auto
back
attacks.
then. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But those champions are
But yeah, it
super
was cool.
fun, and looks like
Yeah,
this
they
guy's
are.
gonna fit in with that group. He might have some tie to Misfortune and the killing spree that she went on. So I'm excited for the lore.
I'm hoping he'll have some tie into Alawi.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And I know that Alawi is more tied to Gangplank, but she's like a god, right? Like or like a demigod.
Or she's
what if
a
like
worshiper or something?
And his sea monster in his teaser trailer is like this big tentacle monster. So maybe she brought him back into the spirit world or whatever as a ghost. That'd be cool. Who knows? Who knows? All theory crafting. Like I said, the tinfoil hats are out in force with me pretty much all times. Let's talk about some other stuff that's coming up in this week on the PBE. This is one of our more common segments simply because there's a lot of stuff that comes out on the PBE. And what I wanted to chat about in this week's episode is the changes coming out to healing and shielding, which aren't on the PBE yet. But Medler, the lead game designer, did post on the League of Legends message boards that they would be coming soon, and they weren't exactly sure what it would look like. So I just wanted to, again, theory craft with you a little bit. And even talk about what they could do to healing and shielding. Because they're it's a straightforward system. So do you think that there's going to be more options introduced to the game to counter them? Or do you think that the system for healing and shielding might be changed at its core?
I'm thinking it might be changed at its core.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a well-known secret that healing and shielding is totally overpowered.
Yes.
You look at the win rates of stuff like Janna, Soraka, stuff like that, and it's like these are totally non-interactive champions that have high win rates because once they get late game, it's just they provide so much value to the ADC. I do feel like that one thing they mentioned is the length that at least the Janna shield lasts is something I think they could change.
For sure.
I think that's an easy fix. I don't want to take. I guess the way I'm thinking about it is I don't necessarily want to nerf the power or whatever. Like, a powerful shield can be fun to play with, but I think it needs to be more selective in terms of when you use it. So if it changes to things like cooldowns, length, stuff like that. So it's like you have to be more selective on who you're going to shield and when. I think that's kind of the direction I would move into.
So here's the only thing that I have to say about that is I think we've tried that before. I mean, they added a huge cooldown onto Janna's shield. They made Soraka's heal cost her own health. Lulu's, I would argue, is the only one that's like still the same, but it's not as powerful like in terms of raw shield power,
Right.
compared to Janna's. What I would like to see done, and this is going to be a little controversial. Sorry. The thing I would like to see done is I think the reason that the win rates of these shielders and healers are so high is because unlike making plays where like you have to land a hook or a big AoE engage with Rakan or Alistar or something, or Leona where you're putting yourself in harm's way to make a play, healing and shielding is reliable and it's easy.
Right.
You just hover your mouse over an ally, hit a button from range, and you protect them, and that's way easier and more reliable than putting yourself in harm's way or having to land a big playmaking skill shot. I think that the skill expression on healing and shielding needs to be increased, and I think the only way to do that, and this is to reward a player who's good over a player who obviously isn't good, I guess, I was very obvious to say, but in order to both makes the healer shielder more fun and way more fair because not everybody is good with them.
So like turning into a skill shot or something?
Yes, that's what I had in mind. And here's what I think. I mean, you have and I'm going to use Janna as an example because Janna is the most strong, or the most strong. Woo! Professional writer, by the way. Janna is the strongest, and I think that she has one of the clearest identities as a champion with like her wind and everything, and her like the storminess. You could easily like throw not like a tornado, but just like a gale of wind or rain at someone to heal them, like a skill shot. It could go through minions, and it could be way stronger than the shield she has now. Like, it could shield you for so much more, and just the fact that it's a skill shot means that they could get away with that, and it would still be healthy. So not only would it be more rewarding to play, because you would get more out of it as a reward, but it would be harder to pull off. And I think that's what needs to happen to both healing and shielding. Even for, like, Lulu, she could throw picks at somebody instead of just click, or Soraka. She has all her astral powers, right? She could do something like a Starfall onto an ally to heal them, even if it's like an AoE heal. I think it would be better even for that. Or even on a delay or something. So I think there are, but unfortunately, those would require total spell and ability redesigns. Like you would need new artwork.
Yeah, it's almost like a mini champion update.
But I think that's necessary for the long-term health of the entire healing and shielding system.
Yeah. I like that.
Maybe preseason would be a good time. Obviously, Riot would have to start like last month on it to actually pull it off by then. But hey, there's still 7 months before the end of the year. Maybe that's what's gonna start to happen soon. Because I would love that. I think that would be perfect. And in it, taking away that safety and reliability from the healing and shielding, would not only be like a good thing for the support because it would feel more rewarding for better skill, but it would feel better to play against. Like for assassins and someone that can be totally screwed over by a big point and click shield, it would feel better to like route your enemy to get them away from the support or go for the support first. Like it would just feel better, you know? I don't know. I think it would be great for everybody, for all parties involved. But a lot of manpower.
I think that's a great idea.
Into making that happen.
I think that's a great idea. Like I said, I think the whole system is broken because of the win rates of these champions, and you can. Yeah. What I'm afraid of is if you nerf the specific abilities, then the champions will just become bad, and that's not good.
Exactly.
Either. Like, you don't want Janna to become bad. You just want her to be fair, so that mediocre Janna players aren't beating better supports on other champions.
Yeah, and exactly, and everyone's. I mean, there's a reason the meme about like picking Janna and climbing to Diamond is a thing. It's just because they're so easy to play. Their whole identity almost starts to revolve around the heal or shield ability, even though there's so much more to the champion thematically.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't have to nerf them if they were a skill shot. You could even make them stronger. You can make them way stronger if they were a skill shot.
I think another one thing that you could do that isn't as big of a change is just shorten the range that you can cast them from.
Yeah, I could see that because if your support is forced to be closer to the action, yeah, there's a certain level of risk added, which I think is good.
I mean, everyone knows to kill the Soraka as soon as possible. But if she has to stand basically on top of the ADC to heal, or whoever, if you want to heal a tank, that's even worse. You have to stand on the front line.
Or maybe make the power of the healer shield scale with how close you are.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like have it like at their current range be like a really weak shield, and then like when they're like on top of them, it's like really big.
Yeah,
that could be cool. Or even just the size that it is now, because it's already stupid.
That would teach positioning more,
yeah,
rather than skill shots.
Which I mean, even that's something, like even that's. I mean, even if it doesn't exactly make like it's not exactly like a hard skill to learn. It's still like something.
When did the Soraka shield start costing her health? Do you know when that change was
heal?
Made? Yeah, her heal.
Yeah. It was her rework back when the Starfall.
It was a while ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was. I mean, just thinking about it now, it makes no sense, right? Because all that encourages for the Soraka players to stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, you stay really far back. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, even that's a little contradictory, but. You could, I mean, and it also doesn't make any sense with her theme. Like, why does she lose health? Like, what about her being a space goat? Like, what about her being a space goat makes her drain her own life to like heal somebody? I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of good options. I think personally, the skill shot route is the better option, but it's a little less realistic just because it'll take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think distance, like Zing said, would at least enforce better positioning, which is, it's something. Like I said, like it's something needs to be done, and it's maybe that could be a band-aid while they do the skill shot thing. Who knows? Let's talk about something else. Something that is actually on the PvE is a pretty sizable nerf to fleet footwork. And
thank goodness.
Fleet footwork, yeah, it's totally overpowered. It's out of this world strong. Everyone runs it in the 80 carry meta, except for in solo queue when you have Draven running Conqueror, or you have like a Master Yi running Conqueror or Lethal Tempo or something, or Kindred running Press the Attack. Other than those niche scenarios, it's always fleet footwork because it gives you so much survivability. It's absurd. Even when the healing is really weak from it. At the start of the game, the movement speed is still dumb.
Yeah.
And basically what they're doing to it, for those of you that don't follow the PvE, is they are making it so that the full 30% movement speed buff you get, that's the final result. And it starts out now at 15% and scales up to 30%.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, great. If you go look at the PvE right now, it's not going to be there. Because a lot of the marksman changes that are coming out to items, runes, champions, what have you, are expected to hit an 8.11, not 8.10, which is next week. So when the 8.11 cycle hits the PvE again, it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday, it'll probably resurface on the PvE. But yeah, I definitely think it's needed because Fleet Footwork is dumb.
It is dumb. Here's my concern. There is one meta ADC that does not take fleet footwork. He's already pretty good.
Ezreal?
Well,
he doesn't need it. I mean, he has other options.
But if you nerf every other ADC, Ezreal might become a problem.
You're right. You are correct. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that is pretty much a nerf to everybody, and Ezreal's already at the top.
Oh, he's amazing.
So yeah, if literally everyone else is nerfed around him. Yeah,
and his lane phase is good. He pokes with Q. Yeah. His W does damage. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Ezreal, man, he's got a whole other.
We're going to talk about that.
He's got a whole other list of crap. Yeah. Double tier teleport Ezreal, giving me solo queue nightmares. Um, yeah. So fleet footwork. So what do you think could be done? Because this rune is obviously way too strong, and it would be risky to buff every other AD carry just as a response to buffing fleet footwork or to nerfing fleet footwork.
Yeah.
So what do you think
My
could be
issue
done?
has always been with this that it doesn't need to provide healing. Like, what about the rune makes healing a necessity? And I think heal again, like back to the point on healing. Like healing is just I don't get it. What about healing makes things fun? Unless you have a champion where that's like a specific part of their kit. Why if if you're a random ADC, do you need to have extra sustain above your Doran's ring or Doran's shield and above whatever your support can give you in lane? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I think healing in general is way overused, healing and shielding.
Absolutely.
I think you could almost increase the speed you get back and just get rid of the healing altogether.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't actually provide that much value to the meta.
And I think if you increase the speed, you could see some really interesting things. Like you proc it, you know when you're gonna proc it, and then that's when you go all in and you can chase someone down.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be good, but that still I don't think that would answer the Ezreal problem.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah, you.
So I don't really know what you could
know.
do. I guess just nerf Ezreal, maybe to bring him down to everyone else's level. I guess we'll have to see because like he's doing all right now. He's not at the very top.
He's a pro
of the
pick.
leaderboards, but he's up there. He's top 5, I think, and I think just we've had so many problems with Ezreal this year that putting him back in that position of power would be really frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I guess we might be totally wrong, and this nerf to fleet footwork wouldn't be that big of a deal for Ezreal specifically. But we'll see. I think heavy-handed balance changes are always dangerous.
Yeah.
So
I think he's more of a pro pick. That's that's where the perspective I'm coming from. So I don't know what happens solo queue, and in pro it's like not as bad because you can just ban him on blue side or on red side. But then
yeah, but that's never the answer to like an OP champion. It's never just ban.
No,
like
it's not the desired.
If that
answer.
is
it's a ban.
Yeah, if that is the answer, like yeah, it's banded exactly. So we'll see what happens after Fleet Footwork comes out. We'll see what happens to Ezreal in both metas, professionally and in solo queue. Definitely got to keep an eye on him though, because it seems like on paper that he'd be the real benefactor of that. That and maybe Jhin, just because the new rune that's coming out is so strong on him specifically that he would probably not run Fleet Footwork anyway.
Got it.
When this patch hits 8.11, so because that's when the new rune's coming out. So I'll be interested to see if he's too strong too. But we'll see. We'll monitor it. It's too early to say, especially just in conjunction with all of the marksman changes that are coming out. There are so many. Like base stats on almost every marksman in the game are being changed. There are big new items coming out. Cloak of Agility is gone. Items are being reworked totally, like Infinity Edge, which is one of the most common 80 carry items right now. So to try to even predict what's going to happen with that rune on top of everything is really difficult, honestly.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. So let's move on to what's OP, and this is the section where we talk about a strategy or champion that's been popping up a lot in solo queue. Or even on the pro stage. We just kind of hash out what we think about it. And we just mentioned it. And the one that we want to talk about this week is Double Tier of the Goddess and Teleport Ezreal. And I hate it.
I hate it too.
Gonna say. I absolutely hate it. It's dumb. You basically, the strategy is you come to lane, you stack you get enough money for a tier, you back immediately. Buy the tier, teleport back to lane, and then do the exact same thing over again. You just get so much mana, and the mana from both items when you finish the Manamune and then eventually the Muramana, right, is the big one.
Yeah.
When it gets upgraded, it's like, oh my god, it's so stupid. You get so much AD, you get so much damage. Oh my god, I hate it.
It
That's
basically
all.
prevents him. It prevents him from falling off late game. So he's still
Yeah,
powerful with the Sheen tier power spike, and then actually doesn't get Sheen anymore. But he'll still be strong in the lane phase. But then he'll just become even more ridiculous when you have both items.
I thought
And
I
gets
thought
that
he went
shield.
Iceborne with that.
Yeah. So yeah,
So you do get Sheen,
yeah, depending on when you get to Sheen, because if you're
but
if
it's
you're
not in
rushing the
lane.
Mana
Yeah,
Moon, then you rush that first. But
you're
yeah, it's
correct.
just
Yep,
it's totally ridiculous. It gives him a shield that he does not need. Like he's one of the
absolutely.
slipperiest ADCs as it is. And it's only possible because apparently, if you have the completed first item, it doesn't like you can't stack 2 tiers at once. So you complete the first item, you can stack another tier alongside it.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
becomes
And what
ridiculous.
you do is you go back and get the second tier as soon as you can, and then that way, as soon as your first tier maxes out, even if it's just a tier,
Yep.
and you haven't put it into a Manamune,
Yep.
the second one just starts stacking right away. Like you don't have
Yep.
to do anything special. It just starts like it's like an extended tier pool.
Yep.
Um,
And it's
and
just
yeah,
he can sling
so
Qs like
stupid.
ridiculous.
And he stacks it faster than anybody.
Yeah.
So I don't. Here's the thing about it. I don't think it's. I don't think it needs to be like fixed in a sense that I don't think they need to be like, all right, you can only stack one tier and it's a unique passive now. I don't think like it's that strong because like you really do sacrifice a lot of early power by not getting the Sheen.
Mm-hmm.
But like as soon as you hit mid game and you have like a whole Manamune and then you're working on your second one, like you do enough damage to be scary. And then it's like the issue I think is that one of the biggest issues with AD carries and the reason that they're being reworked in all these different ways is because they have a very distinct on switch, and that's when they get their second item or their third item. Usually it's the third item is like the all right, now I can win the game on switch.
Right.
And the first one is just like I can deal decent damage. With Ezreal, this basically pushes back his on button, but makes it so much more dramatic when he actually gets it. Like when he does have 2 fully stacked Manamunes and an Iceborne, he deals incredible damage, and like Zing said, he does not fall off. So it's like he hits the on switch, and then it's just like, all right, Ezreal wins, I guess. So you either have to punish him super hard before he hits that spike, and the reason I don't think they really need to make the unique passive is that it's really easy to punish him like really hard at the start right now, especially with just how much power supports have. Like you can really get in his face and cause some trouble. And it's more of like a fun like niche build because it's hard to pull off every game. Like more often than not, you're still going to see tier Trinity Force or tier Iceborne, and more often than not, you're going to see heal over teleport. But in the right hands, like in really strong players at the top of the ladder who can pull it off and not get cheese really early, it's a problem. And
Well,
I'm not really sure what the answer is. Maybe make the damage on them not multiplicative, like so when you get the second one. Yeah, I don't really know how to do that because then you'd have to play around with the mana pool.
This is the thing. Like, who really builds Manamune and Muramana except for Ezreal?
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
I mean, before it was kind of Jace, but he doesn't really.
I mean, yeah,
anymore.
your casters can kind of build it, but Corki doesn't really build it. Jace can kind
Yeah.
of take it, but Jace has a bunch of things that he can build. I don't know. I feel like I think you could look at just this item given that it's so specific to him.
You're right. Well, I think in general the item needs work because that's bad that he's the only one that builds it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe make it deal more damage, but have the mana return like a little, and that would make it like the mana boost would be nice on people, but like they could justify building it because it wouldn't be such a hit to damage.
Yeah, my
don't know.
point would be I would try to make it a better item for
Everyone else.
not every ADC, but like other
Well,
ADCs
more
with,
of them.
Yeah, with more of them
Yeah.
that don't have maybe the mana requirements that Ezreal has that force them to build it. But Figure out something along those lines.
What would be the thing to do then? Because like you have to build it early right now. I would almost say kind of turn it into a
Honestly, I would just take the tier aspect and the transform aspect away. I mean, I don't think
so yeah, you don't have
it
to.
used to be tier only went into one item, right?
Yeah, so then you wouldn't have to do. So then you wouldn't have to rush the tier and sacrifice damage. I was gonna say, or you could do like maybe take the stacking aspect away and then like add some sort of like lost chapter for AD champions where it gives you AD and mana like early-ish, and then you build that in and you just get flat mana.
Or make tier adaptive or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that'd be interesting because they already have it with all those runes. Having an item that's adaptive would be weird.
I don't know. I
think it's a cool idea to play around with though. Something has to be done though because the item is like, it's a problem. Yeah, when one champion builds it, like I mean, obviously that's a problem. And it really isn't another item in the game. There's an item that's worse than that where no one builds it, and that's I guess two items: the Ohm Wrecker and the Edge of Night.
Yeah.
No one builds either of those, so I guess the Manamune is in a better spot than them, because someone finds some use out of it. But yeah, definitely needs some work. Maybe in the near future. So let's talk about esports. Woo!
Yes.
Everyone loves esports unless you're a North American fan. MSI is in full swing, like Zing said earlier. We are in the group stage. We're 2 days done with the group stage, and North America, Team Liquid, is 0-4. Oh, it sucks. It's even worse than TSM at Worlds. At least they had a strong start. we're just like, who cares about winning? But there's a lot of big problems with this, and we've mentioned them with TSM after Worlds, but back then we talked about it as if it were more of a TSM specific problem and not a North America problem. Now that we've seen Team Liquid, who's only 1/5 TSM, do the same basic thing. A key 1/5, true, but like it's still like if you have 4 people on a team that have a different mindset than that one person, like they can drown him out in volume.
Do you think they really do though?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of them except
I feel
Impact.
Like Peter's like by far the strongest personality on that team.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it might stem from him where he caused like a weird domino effect. But the reality is that definitely all of them are feeling it. Maybe except Impact. Impact looks the same no matter what situation he's in. And he's the only reliable player out there at MSI right now. Right. He has pretty good plays. He tries his damn hardest. But I mean, things are just falling apart around him. And as a tank in a tank meta, like that's not a good position to be in. So I want to talk about it. And I ranted a lot to the rest of the writers about this issue because I feel very strongly about it. And it's just honestly mental boom, man. I think that these players, everyone's like, NA sucks, and look at NA play on the international stage. They're worse than these teams. I objectively, truthfully, from the bottom of my soul, don't think that's true. I think if Team Liquid were playing at MSI like they played in the finals, and I know that 100 Thieves is worse than a lot of these teams at MSI, but I still think that if Liquid had the same strategies, confidence, and pick ban priority, they could be 3-1 or 2-2 right now. I honestly think that this is a different team we're seeing, just like TSM. Just like TSM, when the second week of group started at Worlds, I think it's the same thing. It's mental boom. They get in the game. At the start of the first game of this week, they were laughing. They look like they're relaxed, having a good time. And then you just saw the hammer drop as soon as they made that first mistake in the bot lane. You just saw it in their faces. They started sweating. Their expressions got grim. Ole was shaking, and then they're just like, I can't mess up again. I can't mess up again. And of course, when you get that tense and tilted, you're gonna mess up again. And then by the second game at the start, they look okay. They're definitely not as great as they started out in the first game. But then by the third game, they even at the start, before they even walk on the stage, just stone cold expressions. And you see Double Lift's interview with Travis on YouTube where he's like, you just make one mistake and it just snowballs. You see him talking about, and you see Smithy tweet, we have to fix so much stuff. That's the problem. These boys don't have someone telling them or someone showing them or teaching them how to reset. And they're like, we got to improve so much. We're playing like crap. No, you're not. You don't have to improve so much. You are a good team. You're at MSI. You're in the group stage. You don't have time to improve. We're past that. You need to learn how to come back from a mistake and come back from a loss and treat the next game like it's brand new. And I think that's the difference between Cloud9 and TSM and TL. And I think that's the difference between Fnatic and Misfits and TSM and TL. They can come back after a few losses and be like, all right, time to win, time to own this shit. And TL and TSM don't have that. And I think rather than focus on importing international coaches who can teach you strategies and teach you how to be more broad for these tournaments and to import players and get a big budget for these players, I think TL needs to focus on player management, and they need to get a player lifestyle coach or a team psychologist up there on stage at the start of the games and in that meeting room in between games talking to these guys and helping them because they need help. And I don't think they're bad players. And sorry to rant here. And I know I've said that I don't think they're bad players, but I think the entirety of the North America on the international stage issue boils down to the fact that these players don't know how to handle mental collapse. That's what I think it all boils down to. You can say, yeah, their draft is bad and they don't know how to adapt on the Rift, and why did Double Lift not use his flash? And he would have, I mean, it's Double Lift we're talking about here. Why is he face checking bushes? It's because he has mental boom. His mentality is out the window. He's not Double Lift anymore. And that's where all these issues are stemming from. And of course, I'm not on the team. I can't say like definitively that's the only thing that this could be, but I'm 90% sure because it damn looks like it. What do you think?
Two things. One, I liked one of the things that you pointed out in one of our private chats, that if 100 Thieves were here, I guarantee they'd have a win by now. Maybe two.
Exactly. Because Prawley knows how to handle this shit.
Exactly. Prawley's been doing this for so long. He's been able to get subpar teams up to a level, punch above their weight, even when they know that they're, when things are dire. And I think he would have that potential ability to strengthen their mentalities, and just the way that he practices, the stories that you hear of how hard he is on his players during scrims, but like it has a purpose, and he knows how to get a grip when things start going wrong. So
and we're not saying that 100 Thieves is better than Liquid.
No, absolutely
because objectively they're not. No. They just know how to handle mental collapse way better.
Right. And I do agree with you that the Cloud9 thing, I mean, Cloud9, Reaper is great, but I don't agree. I don't think that he is the reason that they are able to perform. I think it's the players themselves.
Well, yeah,
they are able to
survive.
Like Sneaky in particular, he's able to survive being criticized. He's able to survive bad plays, bad games, and come out with good performances. Even Cloud9's been through the ringer in terms of tragedies. What happened to Jensen Zonia's, right? But they are able to bounce back in a way that these other teams haven't.
No one else can do it.
And the thing that I keep coming back to, and I hate to be too tough on Double Lift, but like he is the best player on this team. He should be the best player on this team. And maybe that wasn't true when he was on TSM, but this is time for him to show the world that he can be a leader rather than someone that that breaks under pressure. Or we've talked about how he criticizes Ole, and that might have something to do with how Ole doesn't have any confidence on the Rift either. I'm
Real quick, let me step in because I agree with you, but why is that his fault? I mean, Cloud9, yeah, I think that's on the players. I don't think Reaper has because I don't think Reaper has given them this gift of knowing how to deal with this stuff. I think a lot of it's just the team environment, and then like
Right.
it just happened naturally.
Yep.
Yes, I agree that Double Lift should be in that role, but no, it's like you hear the coaches talk and you hear players talk about him and you hear him talk, and it's like no one has said these words to him. It's like no one in player management on CLG or TSM or Team Liquid has identified that this is a problem. So they're like attacking all these different issues about his gameplay and how he
Right.
can
No,
improve his gameplay, but it's like
that's my
no
point.
one's even tried with him.
That's my point.
So he just doesn't know any better.
At this level, it's no longer good enough for him to be a great mechanical ADC. And we can talk about the mechanical issues as well, but like it's no longer enough for him to just be a great player, right? Like if you look at this roster, Impact, Xmithy, Pobelter, and Ole, the only one that I can see leading this team is Double Lift. I don't see any of those other
100%.
players like being the guy that says, rally behind me, this is how we're gonna win when you're down, 5 kills in a game.
No, I 100% agree.
Whereas for Fnatic, Reckless can be that guy, and Caps has become that guy too.
Yeah, exactly. And like they've always been like Fnatic, they've been through all the bad stuff too. And they're still like they go 0-2 day 1 and then they're like, "All right, let's buck up, kick some ass."
And
Day 2 rolls around 2-0.
Their 0-2
Boom.
was, I mean, in my opinion, their 0-2 was just as bad as TL's 0-2 on day 1.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was probably just jitters. Like they just got in there and that was probably mostly mental as well. And they just knew how to bounce back, and I think that's because of it's Fnatic. And maybe it's because it's in Europe there's just like a whole different mentality, but in North America it's like none of these teams, it happened for Cloud9. And it might happen for 100 Thieves because they have Prolly. But that does not mean it's going to happen for everyone else. These teams need to put resources into working on this because it's a real problem. It's not their gameplay. I know Double Lift's mechanics at MSI have been bad, but that's not Double Lift. That's a different person that we're seeing on that stage. It's a person that's given up.
Yeah.
It's someone that's buckling under pressure because he doesn't know how not to. And he is very good. He's a strong personality. He's a really good player, but he does not have the tool set to deal with the mental fortitude. And that's not his fault. That's something that he has to learn, but he has to be given the opportunity to learn it. He needs help. All of these players need help. Bjergsen needs help doing it. Sven and Mithy need help doing it because they did the same crap on G2 at Worlds last year. Pobelter and Ole and Xmithy did the same thing on Immortals at Worlds. They all need help, and that's okay. That's why you get coaches. Coaches are there to help you with your gameplay. Get a lifestyle coach, get a team psychologist. And I know most of these teams have team psychologists, but it's like you never hear from them. They're never on the stage. They're never in front of you with the team there to support them, where I think they should be.
Right.
Well, maybe bring them in from other regions where you know that they work, like Europe or something. I don't know.
And this is something else we talked about, is that in NA, there's this fascination with X's and O's coaches. And not to say that those aren't important, but like you look at what Koreans do, like the head coach in Korea is never an X's and O's guy. It's always
exactly.
and usually the head coach isn't even on stage. It is the X's and O's guy that is on stage. But the structure they have there is the head coach is the manager. He's the one that is in charge of getting these players on the same page mentally, emotionally, all these things that you've talked with, and he's the one that is tasked with improving that aspect of the game. And that's something that there's this fascination with X's and O's guys, and there hasn't been as much focus on that aspect of the game.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's what it all boils down to. Like I said, I think it's being overlooked. You see people on Reddit be like, "Oh, well, North America, and Double Lift's bad, and these regions are just better, and we should be a minor region." None of that's true. No, I'm sorry, but none of it's true. If you look at objectively how Team Liquid, I'm just going to use them because that's where we're at right now, performs domestically, they perform I wouldn't say better, but they perform objectively differently, dramatically differently. And when I say perform, I mean like not making mistakes and stuff like that, but everything. What strategies they choose to employ in game, who's shot calling, what champions they pick. It's all so different when they hit the international stage. And it's like they totally forget how to play their own game. And it's because they're not confident. They lose it. They lose their confidence. And it's depressing. And I feel very bad for them because you can just see them in the player cams falling apart. Like they're sweating and they just look so stressed out while the other team's like laughing and having a good time. Like it's night and day. And it's so tragic.
The last point I'll make on this is not something that is a 1 split, 2 split, 3 split process.
No, this is a long-term thing.
Because, I mean, remember, TSM had Weldon for a year, and it didn't help them.
Yeah.
This is a long-term structural change that needs to happen, and all parties need to buy in, right? The players need to buy in. I've heard from multiple players that how they've lost confidence in a coach because he doesn't know the X's and O's. And at some point, great, like you do need someone on your team to teach you that stuff, but you need to respect the authority of the coach and his ability to help you in these other aspects, even if he's not a challenger league player. And it has to happen on the team side. The owners have to buy in. The strategic coaches that are there have to buy in. It has to be a group effort, and it's going to take more than just a year for this.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the coach that does this. If you're a good coach that doesn't bring that tool to your tool belt,
you need help.
Hire someone else.
Yep, you need help.
Like not to replace them, but to work with them.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't have to be one or. Like you can do both. I don't. It's frustrating to watch because like to me it seems so obvious. Like when you watch TSM at Worlds, like that's the only thing I saw that stuck out. It wasn't these silly mistakes. It was the reason behind the silly mistakes. And like I said, to me, it just seemed so obvious. And I hate to be like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, and I knew all along, haha. But like, honestly, like when you watch TSM in week 1 of groups and then in week 2 of groups, just them as people, not the mistakes they make on the Rift, it's a different team. And how do you not notice that or see that?
And that was before we heard about like the stuff that was going on inside the green room.
Yeah, how do you watch that and then be like, yeah, they're just bad? Like that that doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, all right, well, I'll stop ranting. We'll move on. I hope, I know that we're a smallish podcast, but I hope one team out there hears this and they make a change. And that's what I want, man. I think that would be so good for the region. Not just Team Liquid or TSM. I think, like you said, this has to be everyone, and I just hope that someone can use that and make a difference. We'll see, though, as always. Depressing to talk about, but I feel it needs to be talked about more because it's the biggest issue we got. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Fnatic. Way better news than Team Liquid. Pretty much did the exact opposite of Team Liquid. They started off with the 0-2, just like Liquid, and they came back today and stomped Kingzone of all teams.
Yeah.
And then Liquid later, which was obviously, well, I don't know. The Kingzone game was a stomp.
It was,
I was gonna say the Team Liquid looked way easier, but it honestly didn't. The Kingzone game wasn't even close.
Yeah, Kingzone. I want to say they're still experimenting. They picked a really interesting comp into Fnatic in that first game. They basically had triple tank around Zion Rakan. And I don't know why they're so fascinated with Khan playing tanks. I think that's a mistake given how good he is. But
yeah,
on the Fnatic side, I mean, I think Broxa and Caps, for me, have played outside of their minds. I mean, Reckless got his Tristana, and he was fine. And then Bwipo was good too. But if anything, those two have conspired to take over the jungle. They make these fun roam plays, the side lanes that get them ahead. I think those two have been the co-MVPs for Fnatic. And I think this is great for their young players. We've talked about Caps' mechanical potential for years, but he's just hasn't been consistent enough in enough games. And I'm hopeful that he's maybe turned a gear here, and we can see this team go on a deep run.
Yeah, I love it. They look like they're renewed. They look just like they did on that last day of groups at Worlds 2017 when Reckless just turned on. That's what they look like. It looks like they look totally refreshed, ready to go. I do want to point out real quick that you did say Bwipo looked good. I think that's a big deal though, because he didn't look good day one. He looked pretty bad, and he's a sub. He's never had international experience. And the fact that he can hold his own, even, I think, is what really opens Fnatic up. Like, because Caps was playing pretty well day one. Obviously, he took it to another level today. But the fact that Bwipo wasn't a crutch anymore, I think that played a big role in their success today. And honestly,
and they
Kingzone didn't.
too.
Yeah, and they counterpicked him. In Kingzone, I think they didn't play as well as they normally do. They definitely did not respect the Corki roams out of Caps.
No.
That was a big deal. But you can't take away from how well Fnatic played. Because, Kingzone looked bad, but honestly, if Kingzone were playing well, Fnatic would have given them a run for their money had they played like that.
It was more a Fnatic victory than a Kingzone loss. I'm not super concerned about Kingzone yet, but it was definitely a good showing for the Fnatic boys.
Yeah, and hopefully they can keep that going, get us a Western team in the top 4. It's probably not going to be Liquid. Yeah, it's probably not going to be Liquid. It sucks to say, and I could be wrong. They might go on a tear and win every game next. But Fnatic just looks like they have this confidence that can only be seen in the Flash Wolves right now. So I'm hoping that keeps up. And then let's talk about the Flash Wolves while we're on the subject. Holy crap, 4-0. Who'd have thunk? Southeast Asia, man. They beat who'd they beat today? RNG. They beat Liquid, and Evos day one.
Yeah. No, they beat Liquid today. They beat They beat Evos and Fnatic day one. They haven't played Kingzone yet. That's the big matchup tomorrow. Third game is Kingzone versus Flash Wolves.
They played Liquid and RNG today, right? Yeah. And then so the only team they haven't played is
Kingzone.
Kingzone, right. Okay, so yeah, I don't know, man. Flash Wolves. If Kingzone plays like they did against Fnatic, I think we're gonna have a 5-0 Flash Wolves on our hands. That's it. That's awesome because they were in the play-ins, like they're a minor region. And Flash Wolves has been at every single international event, MSI and Worlds, since MSI in 2015, which is the first MSI ever. Also, the last time Fnatic was at MSI. Fun factoid. So they were at that MSI, that Worlds. They were at MSI and Worlds the next year, and then the next year, and then this year they're at MSI again.
I mean, they've never won. They always make it because the other teams in the region are trash. And it's gotten worse, right?
Yeah.
Like the other teams have gotten worse over time, and they've actually gotten better. And
which is weird. Don't know how that happened. But yeah, they look super good. And we talked about them a little bit back when we were. I think the last time we really talked about Flash Wolves was during All Stars.
I wrote about them a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but like on the podcast. We talked about them at All Stars a little bit because Southeast Asia was composed of a lot of Flash Wolves players, and they looked better, in my opinion, than any other region that was there. So we were like, wow, they're like pretty strong, even as a ragtag group of guys that was thrown together last week.
Yeah,
they look good, and then so this doesn't come as a surprise 6 months later. When they're destroying teams at MSI, but it's so hype to see them crushing people like this because they've never crushed anybody. Like they've always been there, but they've never really gone far with it. I honestly would love to see Flash Wolves win the whole dang thing. I think that would be incredibly exciting. It would be a fantastic storyline, years in the making. And I think if it's going to happen anytime, it's going to happen this year. Because Kingzone is showing a lot of the same problems that they did at Worlds to a lesser extent, obviously, because they're not getting completely dumpstered. But they weren't getting completely dumpstered at Worlds. But they definitely have, like, there's a very obvious strategy to beat them, and it's focus on shutting down Peanut, get confident roams out of your mid laner, and don't lose your early snowball. And if you follow those rules, you can beat Kingzone. And sure, they might adapt to it, but that's a pretty glaring weakness. Like that's doable by a lot of these teams because a lot of these teams are good. Particularly, I think before today, I would have said the team that could beat them was Royal Never Give Up, but then Fnatic beat them. So what do I know? But Flash Wolves can easily deploy the same strategy that Fnatic used and crush them. So I think if it's going to happen, Flash Wolves, this is the year.
Yeah. So a couple things about Flash Wolves. One, I think the growth of Maple without Karsa has been incredible. The meta really favors them.
Super cool.
They're a mid-bot team, and they have been for a year and a half now. And this meta really helps them, and it really suits how you use mid lane pressure to unlock the bot lane, which obviously wins you the game because ADCs are overpowered. So Betty's been really good. Maple's been really good. It's been really fun to watch them. The one thing I would note that to caution though is this happened 2 years ago at MSI where they had a really good start, including a win. I think they were undefeated against SKT in the group stage, and they went like 3-1 or 4-1 in the first couple days. And then they made the semifinals and got knocked out by CLG of all people. So
the plunge.
That was a weird tournament.
Are you implying that CLG just wasn't that good? Is that what you're implying to me right now, Zing?
It is what I'm implying.
Where's your faith? No, you're right. You're 100% right.
That was a weird tournament. One, because the meta like shifted after day 2 in a way it was just bizarre. Like it was assassin meta, wide open, picks all over the place, and then it like evolved into a team fighting meta once CLG discovered that they could play around Caitlyn. So I'm not saying that same thing will happen again because that would be a pretty drastic shift from where we are now. Like this meta has been in place for the entire split where it tanks and ADCs win the game. So I think that the focus where they have on mid priority and bot lane priority will continue. But there's a lot of league left to play. I'm hopeful that they can make the final. I would love to see them in the mix with Royal and Kingzone for those last 2 spots. And I'm hopeful that we can see a major champion for an international tournament that's not from the LCK.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. And I know that everyone's prone to falling apart at the end under pressure. But I think Flash, that was a long time ago. I think Flash Wolves has grown, like you said. I think that the probability of them falling apart at this point as a very tightly knit roster are slim to none. And if it does happen, man, that'll really suck. But I honestly don't think that'll happen. I think they're good. I think it'll come down to teams having to figure out how to overcome them rather than waiting on Flash Wolves to fail.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I think. I think Flash Wolves is a real shot. And man, that would be cool. All right, so that's all we have time for today. We got a lot of stuff in. Lots of monologuing about North America. Sorry about that. But it's real stuff. It's real stuff that I really feel needs brought to light a little more. And I'm hoping that that's what this will do. So as always, my name is Aaron McCunis, and I am on Twitter at AARONMICKUNAS. That's just my first and last name. Zing and I also write for .esports. It's DOTESPORTS.com. Mentioned that earlier. And we write a whole lot about League of Legends. And right now we are in full MSI mode. So if you want to hear about our analysis on teams, if you want to hear about recaps and stuff like that, come check us out. And Zing's on Twitter too. What's your handle, Zing?
Hey, I'm Zing the Lee, XINGTHELI, and we're covering all aspects of MSI. So if you have your favorite team there, we're covering everyone. We've got recaps, we've got previews, analysis, and strategy. So come visit us on .esports.com.
Absolutely, and please leave us a review and a rating if you're listening to this on iTunes. We want to know how we're doing so we can keep improving and putting this show out for you guys. If you're not on iTunes, however, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at those handles we mentioned. Our DMs are both open, so you can just drop us a message. Let us know how you think we're doing. If you think we're blatantly wrong, you can also just tweet at us if that's more your game. If you're more confrontational than that, and
you want that's public?
Yeah, if you if you really want, I won't stop you. But thanks so much for tuning in for episode number 17, and we will be back next week to go over the end of MSI.